Hello everyone, welcome to Market Astrology and Horoscopes Bull Bear Cafe. My name is Yasko, and today's topic, cryptocurrency, banks, and order. On April 5th, 2019, there's a new moon in 15 degrees Aries. This is no ordinary new moon. It triggers an action that was started back in January this year. We're reaching a tipping point and losing patience. It's time for action. And you'll likely hear about explosions of old buildings or even monumental buildings being destroyed. Violence and shootings could flare with police, military, or other armed persons. The use of force is prominent. Explosions, fires, and violence can be expected. This is the backdrop that I described. Anger and quick actions to cut or cut out. An environment conducive to revolutionizing banking and new world order. Now, could this be about Brexit? Could there be another terroristic type of shooting? Could fighting erupt at the southern border with Mexico or anywhere else? Could there be a violent attempt on a political figure or government facility or old factories? Yes, because there's been reports in China about chemical factory explosion, as well as the tour bus going up in flames in a split second, just like in the movies, which people think are extremely strange. But my focus is on geopolitics, which ultimately determines where the money flows. Money is now the weapon used for security and protection. In January, there was a shutdown, the government shutdown. This time, it's closing the borders and cutting off aid. Money? The president is losing patience. Take notice of his words. He says security is more important. There will be serious actions taken by governments, not just the US, other governments too. This is the promise of the new moon in Aries. There is something new and unprecedented. It also kickstarts new order for Europe, US, Middle East, Central and South America, as well as Asia. Well, that's the whole world. Yes. It is no longer about fighting with guns and soldiers anymore. Money is now the ultimate weapon. Foreign exchange, economic sanctions, trade wars, cutting off access, securing borders. Countries are deeply in need of real money, whatever that is. Having said that, India and Pakistan is warring. So how is that being financed? If you listen to my March predictions of market astrology and horoscope, I clearly stated that Uranus left the oil fields and moved on to disrupt money and banking. Since then, in March, last month, oil has been trending upward with heavily traded WTI contract for May delivery peaking at $60.28 a barrel, reported on March 20th, 2019. See, there's no more disruptions in the oil fields. The bank stocks are now in a bear market, having fallen more than 20% from a June peak, while the financials tumbled into a correction with losses of 13% from their 52-week highs. That was reported by CNBC on March 25th. Mizuho Bank of Japan, a mega bank, reported a loss from derivatives, and that's in my earlier March recording. And then there's JP Morgan to cut hundreds of jobs after staffing review. And that was reported by Bloomberg March 27th. And then a German 10-year bond yield turned negative for first time since 2016 amid fears of a recession. That was last month. And then on March 22nd, we already know that Deutsche Bank is not doing well. So, or on March 22nd, that German bond yield was reported. And we also know that Deutsche Bank is not well, and that's why it's in merger talks with Commerzbank. Now, today, this is by Moody's, India's top court voided rules meant to resolve bad debt. That's not good for banks. And in fact, I just caught the headline on CNBC about Caterpillar falling. Now, this was predicted in my March 11, 2019 posting. I clearly stated and wrote that Caterpillar will tumble. Caterpillar shares fall after Deutsche Bank downgrades synchronized global growth has collapsed. That is today's headline. Sorry, I got sidetracked. Well, now let's get back to the banks. Okay. Emirates MBD has acquired 99.85% of the shares of Turkey's Denizbank from Russian state-owned Sberbank for 15.48 billion lira or 2.76 billion. That was reported today on CNBC, and Erdogan's party suffered a defeat. I'm not saying that was the cause of it, but I just threw that in there. And this is why I keep focusing on the money in banking. If you like geopolitics, you may want to watch my last posting on Brexit. I stated that it's about money. Yes, it's about taking back their power, but there's something important missing that has to do with money. I think they may need to do something with their pension plans, but they may need pension reform. And I saw that on the chart. I guess it was spent on the immigrants, maybe. London was once the center of world finance. That's why we have LIBOR, London Interbank Offer Rate. Maybe that could all change someday when cryptocurrencies merge into society and UK focuses on becoming the center of new technology. ARM Holdings is in Cambridge and they are the chip of all chips, maybe. If the banks and other middlemen are cut out, what will happen to the financial centers? Will they turn into mining centers? Now, I'm talking specifically about UK, London, or Cambridge. There is plenty of energy offshore, like Norway. So, the difference between UK and Norway, energy-wise, is the ownership. So, UK, I suppose, can get into that. Disruption in money and banking will be the catalyst for the changing world order. There's something new, unprecedented, revolutionary occurring with money and banking, which will change the governments, which then in turn changes lifestyle and finally the world order. Let's start with Brexit. Well, January 1st, 1973 is when UK joined the EEC. But let's first look back to the Black Wednesday, September 16, 1992. John Major's time, when George Soros shorted the British pound and brought down the Bank of England. So UK joined um, European exchange rate mechanism and was unable to take independent action regarding its own interest rates. And this was a painful experience of not having its own authority to take independent action to protect its currency. So today we have Brexiteers trying to take back their power. On March 23rd, 2019, last month, Italy signed a deal with China. Italy is in a dire state economically. Although IMF and EU had helped, it now is at the very end of the road. The first G7 nation to enter the Silk Road or revive the Silk Road, or commonly known as BRI. Scalini did not attend the ceremony but didn't protest it either uh, because Italy needs the money, I think. Scalini is a very popular populist. It's all about the money. Italy is severely behind others, i.e. Germany and France, and would not be able to catch up without this aid from China. This is the new unprecedented action taken out of necessity. And this too was a defiant act. They reached the tipping point. We already know what happened to the port in Greece. They received help from China. And why is China so interested in all the ports it can acquire? Well, U.S. Navy controls all the seas. It's trying to do the same. As it wants to secure routes for its goods and needed materials for its nation. It's geopolitics, government versus government, governments signing new deals that change the international landscape. Why? Money or too much debt, which means money. Let's turn to Turkey. This is a country that wanted to join the EU, but was blocked by France because Turkey is part of Asia Minor, not Europe. Maybe that was a blessing in disguise. The Turkish central bank has been losing international reserves, and I think the government didn't allow its banks to lend to prevent short selling before the local elections. Turkey has its currency crisis. Turkey had its currency crisis last year. Again, governments are in a very dire place because currencies can be manipulated or used as weapons to destroy a regime or a country. Every country, government, and politician is protective of their or his currency. Financial markets, now globalized, have become connected, and countries have to worry about currency speculators. Yes, of course, money is the new weapon. That's why there is a cry and support for cryptocurrencies, because people do not trust central banks because they print money. However, cryptocurrencies are traded, so how can we count on its stability? Government has to intervene or govern to carry out its agenda. Let's look at Golan Heights, another unprecedented action taken by a U.S. president to stabilize the Middle East or help its other family member, Israel, and its leader in the next election, I think. Here, it's apparent that there is an emergence of new order. No wonder SoftBank's Vision Fund is invested in the Neom project. That's Saudi Arabia. I think the Middle Eastern region could be the next China. This is just my conjecture, but media experts always say that China has long-term plans. What about Russia? What about U.S.? It was George Bush who started the nation building. Sounds like the U.S. is in the driver's seat. Without the Iraq War, the Middle East development cannot happen. What about the future of NATO? This too is about protection of boundaries and the G7 family. Trading blocs are out. The world has shifted to anti-globalism, each nation paving its own destiny by negotiating its own deals. This matter could come up again this month. What worries EU about Brexit is that when it occurs, other members will follow and rule the EU. Germany's PMI numbers were a lot less than expected, and their interest rate fell into negative territory. That is what brought our stocks down last month. Negative interest rate means banks aren't making money. You might ask, what about India? Well, Japanese and South Koreans were the first to invest in India, and that was long ago, even before the Obama administration. Japan is building a bullet train in India. SoftBank sold Flipkart to Walmart recently, and now Amazon is getting into India. So India is well on its way. Um, Prime Minister Modi also made revolutionary changes to India's currency by actually demonetizing, but the result was not as effective because all the money came back. Again, currency is being used as a weapon to gain control. This is government trying to crack down on black money or cash because the government is trying to establish control over campaign contributions. Finally, let's look at North Korea. I think North Korea could become a prosperous country like South Korea. I think that too is a change in one government situation from poverty to prosperity. I think there is a shift in government order on both sides. The U.S. is reshuffling world order. The country has stopped nuclear missile tests for the time being. Again, government versus government. This matter is new, unprecedented. North Korea needs the money, foreign investment I'm referring to, for its economic development. Again, it's all about government and money. People versus government, government versus government. Can you imagine North Korea actually transforming? And maybe they can build a resort with a casino on it and bring a lot of tourists in to their country. Well, let's move on. Thailand also had an election after a long period of military rule. Unlike Myanmar, Thailand's economy was stabilized after the Thai baht crisis when Japan invested. It is therefore a vibrant economy. This is government transitioning to a new order. Now they can enter into a trade agreement with other countries, especially the U.S., because the U.S. does not like military ruled countries, or they don't like military rulerships. Now, let's look at Japan. The country has been trying to escape from a deflationary cycle. Abenomics was supposed to accomplish that, but the government is again trying to pass the consumption tax. Somehow they can't do it. It needs to lower its huge debt. What is new and unprecedented? It's accepting immigrants to work in Japan. They also brought back retired people into the workforce because they say there's a labor shortage. The government is doing the exact opposite of what others are doing. And when I say others, that's the US and Europe. Why? And that I don't know. Japan is now worried about a bearish market because its currency has risen against the euro and could rise against the dollar. And trade negotiations with US is scheduled to start on April 15th. I am going to be doing a recording on Japan, so I could probably address the why. Why are they going in the opposite direction from the US? I guess I'm going to talk about that. So let's finally turn to China. I will also post Bear Cafe China. China's stock market is bullish. However, this month its currency could take a hit or their employment figures aren't good. It's not what US would like to hear. Please refer back to the bull bear motion in April. I do see almost a revolutionary or unprecedented or unexpected change in their government. And it's because of money. In summary, what I'm saying is that tensions are high, government and people are clashing, governments and governments are clashing, new and unprecedented actions are taken. Why? Governments have high debt, money, and banks are undergoing structural changes, and cryptocurrencies are trying to make its way into the economy. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe